Okay, everyone. I think we've got folks in from the waiting room, and we'll keep on letting people in as if and as they arrive. So thank you so much for joining us here on this Saturday morning. It may be quite early where you are, or quite a bit later than it is. It's 9 a.m. in Calgary right now, and we are really excited to invite you to this virtual session of You at UCalgary. So everyone who's here today is someone who has received an offer of admission to the University of Calgary, and we are incredibly excited to be able to spend an hour with you this morning and tell you a little bit about the fantastic experience that you'll have in the Faculty of Arts, and answer questions that you might have about joining us in the fall. So please go ahead to the next slide, Chioma. So before we go any further, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the traditional territories of the people of the Treaty 7 region of southern Alberta, which includes the Blackfoot Confederacy, comprised of the Siksika, the Piikani, and the Kainai First Nations, the Tsuut'ina, and the Stoney Nakoda, including the Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Goodstoney First Nations. The City of Calgary is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Districts 5 and 6. And if you're from another province in Canada, you may well be familiar with these kinds of territorial acknowledgements. And I know that there are some other countries around the world that do them as well. These are always something that we do at the University of Calgary, where we take a moment to recognize the traditional peoples of the land where our university is built and where we are fortunate to live and work and play. Next slide, please. So, a few moments of introduction. So, my name is Dr. Dawn Johnston. I am the Associate Dean of Teaching, Learning, and Student Engagement at the Faculty of Arts at the University of Calgary. I'm also a professor in the Department of Communication, Media, and Film, which is where I do my teaching of courses. And I'm joined by a fantastic panel of folks here today who are going to spend the morning with us, or spend an hour with us this morning, talking about some of their experiences and their work at the Faculty of Arts as well. We're going to have time for questions at the end, so you can hang on to your questions and put them into the chat when I invite you to do so. So the people who've joined me here today, I'm going to mention first, because I see her on my screen and her name isn't on this, is the fantastic Chioma Umezarike. Chioma is our engagement assistant in the Faculty of Arts at the University of Calgary. I also want to introduce Tabri Chupik. Tabri is an advisor in the Faculty of Arts. So we have a fantastic spot on the main floor of the Social Sciences building called the Art Student Center, and that is kind of the home away from home for a lot of our art students, and always the place that you can stop by to get advice on your program, to answer questions that you might have, or just to pop in and say hello. We also have several students who are joining us this morning, and I know they're the ones that you really want to hear from, so I'm really excited to be able to introduce them. We have Julia Tolentino. Julia is an arts co-op student majoring in sociology. We have Vidara Patharaje, who is also an arts co-op student, and Vidara is in my home department of communication and media studies and is also doing a combined degree with marketing in the Haskayne School of Business. And I'm not sure if Sarah has been able to join us this morning or not, but I will invite her in hopes that she might be able to be here. Sarah El-Kafri is the Vice President Communications for our Faculty of Arts Students Association, or FASA, and is also a Law and Society major. So I'm really excited to have this fantastic panel of folks here to join us today. Next slide, please. So I always like to start with this terrifyingly large word cloud that sort of answers the question of what can I do in the Faculty of Arts? A lot of folks assume that a Faculty of Arts is a faculty of art. And indeed, art is one of the things that's in our very large faculty. So we do have our School of Creative and Performing Arts, which has dance, drama, and music. But we also have our Department of Art and Art History. And those are the things that might be most familiar to you about a Faculty of Arts. But we also have all of the subjects that are in the humanities and social sciences. And those subjects are are really wide-ranging. So you'll see words on this screen like political science and sociology and economics. And people might not assume that those are going to be in a Faculty of Arts, but at the University of Calgary, they are. We also have humanities programs like the language programs, English, communication and media studies. We have film studies, and then we have science. We have some programs that overlap in some cases with the Faculty of Science. So we have the psychology program, for instance, where students can do a Bachelor of Arts or a Bachelor of Science in psychology. And it's one of those programs that at some universities you might find in a Faculty of Science, but at the University of Calgary, it's in the Faculty of Arts. So one of my favorite things about the Faculty of Arts is this diversity. You have all applied to come into, most of you have probably applied to come into a particular major. And that's fantastic if you know what it is that you want to do. Some of you are coming in without a declared major at that stage, and that is also perfectly fine. You've got lots of time. But one of the things that I always like to tell people is that your first year is such an important opportunity to take a variety of courses from across our faculty. So if you are, for example, majoring in communication and media studies, there are two courses that you would take in your first year, one in the fall and one in the winter. But if you're taking a full load of courses with 5 classes each term, that means you're going to take 8 courses from other fields. And that's one of the really exciting things about first year is that you get the chance to dabble in a variety of different areas. So you would have the opportunity to take first year courses in any of the programs that are listed in this word cloud. And that's, like I said, one of the really exciting things about the University of Calgary. When I joined the University of Calgary as a student, I'm not going to tell you how many years ago because it's a lot. But when I arrived here as a student, one of the things that I remember the associate dean who was leading orientation talking about was he said half of you know what you want to do, and half of those people are going to change your minds. And that's one of the things that I found really empowering about being in the Faculty of Arts is that you can start out in one program and think it's what you want to do, but if you end up taking a course in something that you'd never thought about before and it ends up being your passion, there is the ability and flexibility to be able to either change programs or to add a minor, so a smaller area of concentration to your other major, or to take elective courses throughout your degree in any one of these programs. And it's something that we really, really encourage students to think about. Next slide, Chioma. Oh, looks like we might have a video.
I'm Rex, the UCalgary mascot and #1 Dinos fan. This incoming class is looking dynamite. Cheering for dinos is my thing. Without you, I would be a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Jurassic times call for Jurassic measures, so I've got a roarsome challenge just for you. Keep an eye on your inbox. I'll post details shortly. This challenge will be online, not in the field, so you will not have to worry about getting dinosaur. Complete my challenge, and you will be entered to win the U at UCalgary Rex's Challenge Award, an exclusive prize with UCalgary swag. Be sure to watch your email for more instructions after the event. Go Dinos!
I promise that's the worst set of jokes you will ever hear in your time at the University of Calgary. Um, thanks for putting up with our little Rex video, and make sure you do keep an eye on your inbox so that you can participate in that challenge. The Rex is the mascot at the University of Calgary, so you will see Rex show up at all of our sporting events, at all of our big student engagement events. When you join us at orientation at the end of the summer, beginning of the fall, then you're going to see Rex there, and Rex becomes a familiar face around campus, and is definitely somebody that's very big on school spirit. So now we're going to move into talking about the student experience in the Faculty of Arts at the University of Calgary. So we've put together a set of sort of frequently asked questions from students who have joined us in the past and students who arrive on campus in September and kind of wonder, I know where to find all the official answers to things, but where do I find the unofficial answers to things? So this is our opportunity to hear from some of our great student panelists to talk about their student experience at the University of Calgary. Go ahead, Chioma. Okay, so always a good one to start with because the university experience is about the things you do outside of the classroom just as much as the things that you do inside of the classroom. So I'm going to start out by asking our student panelists, what clubs or activities are you part of or would you recommend to others? Do you want to start us out, Julia?
Yes, sure. What clubs or activities am I a part of? Yeah, I just like to preface that I am a follower of Christ. So, finding out that there was a Christian club here at University of Calgary called Power to Change, I was like, whoa, this is so cool. Like, I get to be in a community that has the same values and interests as me. So, I just like to emphasize is that whatever values or interests you have, whether it be in arts and crafts, whether it be in music, whether it be something alongside with your major, just having a club or just having an activity that you can be a part of will give that sense of community, sense of belonging, especially when it comes to like first year. Um, I understand out of all people, like I'm an international student, so having that community, having that sense of belonging in the university, and getting to just talk about something that you're interested in, I think that is really essential, and I would highly recommend going to clubs and activities and all that good stuff. So yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Julia. How about you, Vidara?
Yeah, definitely. For me personally, in my first couple years, I focused a lot on like the academic part of university. So I never actually ended up joining a club. I've been to like a couple events, and I would definitely recommend students to kind of try out different things. You know, you don't need to stick to one club your entire time at university. If you have a lot of interest, you know, try those out. And yeah, like Julia said, you'll be able to build a community. It's always good to kind of do stuff outside of your class time while you're at university. Because obviously, university is about classes, but you can also do other stuff outside of that. I think that's really important to kind of build a community while you're here so you can like navigate the 4 years that you spend here.
For sure. And uh, and I think it's useful to mention that and Julia hinted at that there is literally a club for everything at the University of Calgary. And in the fall, it's usually somewhere around the second or third week of classes, the Students' Union hosts what they call Clubs Week. And Clubs Week is held over in the McEwen Student Center, which is our sort of student hub on campus. And all of the clubs on campus set up a booth so that you can learn a little bit more about what they do. And there are literally hundreds of clubs on campus. So whether it's a sort of community-oriented club like Julia mentioned, or a sort of hobby club, some clubs that are interested in sports or different activities, you really can find something for everyone in that list of available clubs. Another one that I want to mention is the Faculty of Arts Students Association, because this is a club you automatically become part of as a student in the Faculty of Arts, and this is probably our largest club on campus. So Faculty of Arts students are automatically part of FASA, the Faculty of Arts Students Association, and FASA spends the year putting together a series of events that are designed to support students both academically and socially. So they're constantly holding events in the Art Student Lounge, which is right across from our offices in the Art Student Center. And there are always activities that you can get involved in. And it's a really neat opportunity to meet other people. And that Arts Lounge space is one where art students hang out all the time. So you sort of have a bit of an instant community when you get involved with a club. So definitely something we recommend. Next slide, please. So, what are your favorite events on campus? I'll start this time with Vidara.
Yeah, for sure. I know how Dawn mentioned that me and Julie are both in the arts co-op program. So I know that there's an event we do, arts co-op, at the end of every work term called the integrative session. And I've really enjoyed that because I get to talk to other co-op students, and usually everyone's in a different degree and they're studying different things. So to get to meet people from across the faculty and talk to them about their work term experiences, I've had a really great time doing that. So I would say that's probably one of my favorite events that I go to.
Well, that's great. Thanks. How about you, Julia?
It's still fresh in my memory. So yesterday, the UCalgary Strong Festival. Um, Fun fact, that was my first time going, even though I'm a fifth year student. I was like, let's try it out. It's just a great place, event to celebrate the last day of classes. There's a lot of activities. There's a bouncy castle. There's a even as like chill as origami making. There's a karaoke, a bracelet, bead making bracelet. So it's just a fun way of celebrating the last day of classes and bringing your friends over and just hanging out. Yes, so it's been fun. It was a fun time just being able to de-stress before the final season. So yeah.
Excellent. Thanks, Julia. And those de-stressing opportunities are really important, especially when you're getting to. Yesterday was the last day of classes at the University of Calgary for the sort of fall winter academic year. Though we do run classes through the spring and summer as well, but it's always a big day on campus, and it's also known at the University of Calgary as Bermuda Shorts Day. And Bermuda Shorts Day is something that's been around since the beginnings of the university in the late 1960s. And it's the final day of classes of the year, which is always in April. Which, if you are from Calgary or have spent time in Calgary, will know is not always a day that warrants the wearing of Bermuda shorts. But we had a beautiful day yesterday of about 18 or 19 degrees, and all over campus, students were wearing Bermuda shorts or Hawaiian t-shirts and shirts, and it's a lot of fun to see. And the UCalgary Strong Festival is one of these the festivals that grew up around that time in the last decade, to recognize that some students have activities that they are always sign up for at the end of the year, and other students are looking for some way to join with community on the last day of the year, and the festival is a great opportunity to do that. Those opportunities to take part in events are going to be all around you at U of C. This is a campus that really takes seriously the importance of a um, a sense of community around campus. So University of Calgary is sometimes known as what we call a commuter campus, which means that a lot of our students live in the Calgary area and drive back and forth from home to school every day, as opposed to living on campus. Now, a lot of you who are attending here this morning are from other provinces or from other countries, and maybe living on campus in our U of C residences. When you live in residence, you've got an instant community. I've got a nephew who's been in residence for the last 2 years, and I feel like in his first year, every other day he was telling me he'd made a new friend. So it is an instant community. But for students who maybe are from Calgary or from Alberta and are driving back and forth every day, it's really important to find ways to get involved in the campus community, which is why you'll see so many events happening that students can attend. So keep your eyes open for those next year. Next slide, please. Okay, this is a hotly contested topic. Where is the best place to eat on campus? So campus has a lot of options for restaurants and fast food joints, and I always like to get the opinion of students on what is their favorite place to eat on campus. Julia, why don't you tell us?
Yeah. I guess it's been the popular or famous food place to eat. I would say it's Bake Chef in McCall. Yeah, just a good sub is like it has all the nutrients, it has your protein, your carbs and vegetables. So especially as a university student, where you're always thinking about academics, you're always thinking about this and that, like you're like a lot of responsibilities, a lot of priorities, but just having a good sub or just having a good Yeah, just having a good order from Bake Chef is amazing. Like just recently, I think they made a breakfast sub. So it's like scrambled eggs, ham, and or hash brown or that kind of thing in a sub. So yeah, I guess like that is my opinion. Bake Chef is the GOAT one, the greatest of all time.
The
Yes.
goat, absolutely. And I think that's a widely held opinion. Vidara, how about you?
Yeah, I actually have not tried Bake Chef, but I hear
Oh my
nothing,
gosh.
but I know, but I
Yeah.
hear nothing but good reviews, so I'll have to try it before I actually graduate. Um, but honestly, I don't eat too much on campus, and when I do, it's either at like A&W or Carl's Jr., and I think most people know what those two places are. But I would recommend probably like Coffee Company if you want a good coffee or a drink. I know we have a couple of good earths on campus as well. So, if you want to try something different to Tim's, those are always good options.
Excellent. Yeah. Yeah, it's we do have quite a lot of options for eating on campus, and McEwen Student Center, which I mentioned to you earlier, which sometimes students also call Mac Hall. It's the place where most of our food vendors are. So the Students Union and the Graduate Students Association both have sit-down restaurants in Mac Hall. So there's the Last Defense Lounge that the Graduate Students Association runs. And then there's the Den and the Black Lounge, which are both run by the Students Union, and those are both great places if you want to sit down and have a more leisurely lunch. But upstairs in Mac Hall, we've got probably a dozen or 15 different food outlets there where you can check out. And you definitely have to check out Bake Chef. So Bake Chef is Vietnamese subs primarily, but also lots of cookies and stuffed buns and amazing options. And it's you can actually, if you go onto the University of Calgary website and search for information about the Bake Chef, you might even find there was this great interview that got done with the family that has owned Bake Chef since the beginning, and now their son has taken over, and it's kind of a key part of University of Calgary history, and you'll definitely look forward to checking it out when you arrive. Next question, please, Chioma. Okay, so this is really good insider knowledge. So where's the best place to study on campus, or the best sort of hidden spot to hang out that other students might not know about? Videra?
Yeah, for me, in my first couple years, I went to TFDL, which is like our main library, and I can't remember what floor it was, but it was one of the quiet floors, and there's like a little hidden section in within the bookshelves where there's only like space for like two people. Um, and I always went there. It was like the floor is very quiet, so it's a good place to study, and I always did that. And I also studied a lot at the Doucette Library, which is in the education building. That library also has just like a lot of space, and it's very quiet, and it's usually not very busy. So I don't know if it's a hidden gem or not, but that's where I went. And yeah, I think those are good spaces.
Great suggestions. How about you, Julia?
I would say the International Student Services lounge area. They're promoting that their lounge area or like their common area is a good study space. And honestly, if you need a quiet space to study, that's the place to go to if you're that kind of student. Yeah, and also just being able to have a good view. There's like a good view by the window at the International Student Services as well. So for me, I love just having like nature or something organic, I guess, close to me when I study. So I guess there's that. And the second thing would be the atrium at the
Mhm.
administration building. Coming from a tropical country during the winter months when you're feeling a bit homesick, that is like the best place to go if you just want a casual study session there. Yeah, so those are the two hidden gems, I guess. Yes.
Those are great suggestions. Yeah, the atrium is a really beautiful space. It feels a bit like a rainforest in there, and it's just it's lush and green and way warmer than any other place on campus. And yeah, and it's got lots of comfy seating for students to sit and do some studying in the middle of the day. And it's very close to the sort of center of where most of the arts programs have their offices and do their classes. So it's definitely a space that will be handy for students in the Faculty of Arts. So these are all good suggestions. And part of, figuring out what's the best study space for you is learning a little bit about how you study. There are students for whom super quiet spaces are really important, and they need to kind of track down those locations where there aren't going to be distractions or background noises, and they can really sort of focus on their reading. There are other students who I've seen who can pop in a set of earbuds and study absolutely anywhere. So you could be in the middle of Mac Hall and there are, 1,000 people around you, and they are totally focused on what they're doing because of a handy set of earbuds. So it all depends on what's your comfort zone and what suits you. But this campus is filled with study spaces for students, whether those are in libraries or in some of the buildings where you'll be doing your classes. It's also kind of handy that like the classrooms are unlocked all the time. So if you are arriving early for a class and there isn't a class in that room right before you, then I often see students just sitting in a classroom and studying as well. So lots and lots of options for you on that front. Okay, next one, Chioma. Okay, so this is what you got to think on this one carefully, folks. So, what was your favorite course that you took in first year? Let's do that one first. What was the first favorite course that you took in your first year, Julia?
I would say I am pretty biased. So I would say SOCI 201. A lot of my non-sociology major friends, whenever I tell them, oh, I'm a sociology major, they always reply with, I loved SOCI 201. It gave me a a broader understanding of people and how to like interact with them, and especially coming from different cultural backgrounds, for example. And yeah, so it just gives me a little like boost of what do you call this, yeah, just give me a little boost. I'm like, oh yes, that's sociology, like I love it. So I would highly suggest soci 201. It's a good first year course, a good elective as well, so I would highly recommend that.
Great choice. And yeah, and Soci 201 is one of our biggest and most popular classes. So for sure it's one sociology is one of the subjects that people generally haven't taken in high school, so they don't really know what it's going to be. But it's kind of like social studies, but not exactly. And but it's a program that really is relevant to almost any other academic field. So definitely a great choice in your first year. Videra, how about you?
Yeah, for me, I'm gonna say my like two first year communications courses, so comms 201 and 203. They were just like my first introduction to communication media studies. And yeah, they gave like a really good overview of the program and what I'd kind of be learning more in my next 4 years. And when I did my classes, it was kind of during COVID, so we were still online. Um, so I remember, I forgot which one it was, but one of the two, the prof would take us on like field trips where he would just go somewhere and he would zoom from that location and kind of show us around. So that, like, I don't know, it was just really funny to me that he was doing field trips while we were on Zoom. But yeah, like the content of those courses, I also really enjoyed. So I would recommend those courses as well.
That's great. Thanks, Vidura. Yeah, that's those I am also slightly biased as a communication studies professor, but those first courses in communication media studies are also extremely popular with other students because there's hardly anybody who doesn't have an interest in media. So communications, that first year course gives you it gives you the introduction to media studies, but also to other forms of communication, interpersonal, organizational, the kinds of theories of communication where we think about about our identities and how we interact with other people. And like sociology, those are subjects that are going to be, or topics that are going to be relevant to any subject and any background. So definitely a good option to consider. I love that story about your professor trying to get creative during those hardest COVID years of online learning and taking students on virtual field trips that way. That's great to hear. We had a lot of profs who had to do some heavy lifting during COVID. Okay, what about your favorite course in the rest of your program? You are both sort of senior-ish students now, and so you've got, a whole degree worth to reflect on. So, what would you consider to be the favorite course that you've taken throughout your program? Go first, Julia.
I would say I forgot the number, but it is a 400 level for SOCI. It's critical feminist theory, and our prof gave us the autonomy to research whatever we wanted in the span of 4 months. So if you're interested in research or if you're interested in that kind of stuff, it is something that I thoroughly enjoyed. I picked out a topic of Filipino international students in Canada, and I got to interview a fellow Filipino international student and got to hear their experiences. So just going through like a mini version of being a research assistant or that kind of thing was an amazing time, and having a very intentional prof was also a bonus of just okay, like I have a support system in terms of this research and that kind of stuff. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I didn't feel like I was studying. It was more of like getting to learn about other people's experiences and letting their voice be heard and that kind of good stuff. So yeah, I would say that has been my favorite course in my program.
That sounds like an amazing course, I think it's useful to mention this sort of difference. Like your first year classes at UCalgary are going to be big. There's no way around it. They're large classes. They're going to be in big classrooms with anywhere between 100 and 300 students. So for sure, big classes. But by the time you get to those senior courses, you're in much smaller classes and have the opportunity to do more hands-on learning. And one of the things that Julia mentioned in her example was the idea of doing undergraduate research, and that's something that the University of Calgary puts a really high priority on. So we try to find ways to incorporate opportunities in our classes, particularly once you get beyond first year, to be able to do your own research. So seeking out the topics that interest you, working with a research supervisor, designing a project that's of interest with advice from folks who have expertise in your area, and then actually conducting that research yourself and reporting back on it. Those are the things that make going to a big research university like the University of Calgary most special, and those are the kinds of opportunities that you might not get at a smaller school. So, really great example, Julia. How about you, Videra? What's been your favorite course in your program?
Yeah, for me, I would say I believe it's the code is comms 383. It's like a intro to public relations. I really enjoyed that class because I wasn't like when I joined this degree, I wasn't thinking of doing PR and it wasn't really something I was familiar with. So when I decided to take that class, I just had really good time learning about PR because I think it's a word that is like pushed around a lot, but I never really understood exactly what it was. So to kind of learn about that and see like real life examples, and also to like one of our projects was to look at I think it was a program and then create a media kit for it.
Mm,
So kind of to have that like experience of actually doing something, my eyes to other fields that I could probably work in after I graduated. So I would say I really enjoyed that class. Yeah.
that's great. Yeah, and that's what Videra just described in terms of being in a class where she had the opportunity to actually create a media campaign for an organization. That's a great example of what we call experiential learning. And experiential learning is something that we do a lot of in the Faculty of Arts because we recognize that our students want to not just be hearing about things, but actually doing things. So that chance to take the sort of theory and research and analysis that you've been learning in some of your courses and put it into practice by actually creating something for an organization. Gives you the opportunity to see what it might be like to work in that field, but also gives you the opportunity to help make those connections between the different kinds of skills that you're learning throughout your program and the future work that you will do. So both great examples of favorite courses. Next slide, please, Chioma. Okay, and I think this is, I think we've got two questions left. So this is our second last one, if I remember correctly. So I'm going to ask Vidara and Julia to tell us what they think is the greatest strength of the Faculty of Arts. Vidara?
Yeah, I would say, as Don showed earlier, there's a lot of degrees within the faculty. So I think just the amount of people you get to meet. Like sometimes you go to classes that are specific to your degree, but there'll be students from other degrees who are also doing that. So just the chance to meet people who are learning so many different things, I think is one of the biggest things that I've found being in faculty. Um, yeah, I mean, not much to expand on that, but yeah, I think just the diversity of things that students study, it's really interesting to kind of meet another faculty of arts student and be like, oh, you study like economics. That's completely different to what I do, but we're still in the same faculty. So I think it's just really interesting to kind of get to know other people and what they're studying.
For sure, and that's it's such a good example because our particularly those larger first and second year classes, um, probably only about half the students in that class are actually majors in that subject. So that you might, for example, be working on a group project in a course with students from three different fields. That really it helps you understand that like the best way to solve problems is from a variety of different perspectives, but also you get to learn things. You get to learn things about other subjects that even without taking classes in them yourself, and that's a really neat opportunity. How about you, Julia? What do you think is the greatest strength of the Faculty of Arts?
I think just incorporating my arts co-op hat and thinking of corporately, uh, we had a co-op lunch with a bunch of different co-op students last summer, and Vidar and I were one of the students there as well. And just hearing each and everyone's experience and how one is in data analysis, one is in student services, or one is even in the intramurals volleyball well kind of co-op job. It's just that for Faculty of Arts, we can dip in almost every field of corporate in the corporate industry. Like you can be in the tech, or you can be in nonprofit, or you can be in even at university or student services kind of field. So I think that's the greatest strength of the Faculty of Arts, that even though you graduate with something that's specific as sociology or communication and media studies, there's a variety of different fields that you can dip your toes in and just be able to, yeah, just share your perspective or share your expertise too. So, yeah.
That's great. Yeah, and I'm glad that I feel lucky that we had two co-op students here today and that we got to hear a little bit about sort of that co-op piece, because that's one of the things that I always like to mention to incoming students is considering the option of a co-op degree. So some of you are probably familiar with what co-op is and others might not be. And if you've got more questions about it, you can certainly put them in the chat and we'll answer some of those later. But we can do a co-op with almost any one of our programs in the Faculty of Arts. So when a student is in a co-op designation on their degree, it means that their first 2 years are typical on-campus full-time activity, but starting at the end of their second year, they alternate between paid work terms and academic semesters on campus. And our co-op students take at least three paid co-op work terms. Some of them do a fourth one. Very occasionally, somebody even does a fifth one. And co-op is a great option for a variety of reasons because, first of all, as I mentioned a couple of times, it's paid work. So it really helps you be able to then pay your tuition in the academic semesters when you're not working full time. But it's also amazing career exploration. So students will talk about being surprised at the discovery that they did one work term in an oil and gas company, and they did another one working for a nonprofit, and they did another one working for the government. government, and kind of assuming that they had wanted to work in a nonprofit environment, but actually discovering that they really liked a corporate environment. So I always tell students that that a work term that wasn't your favorite is just as important as a work term that was, because it helps you understand more about who you are and what you prioritize for the work that you're going to do in the future. So always a great thing to add, especially to a Faculty of Arts degree, because you may have some friends who are going into engineering or business who have what feels like a more clear and obvious path to their future career. But our students work in all of the same environments, and it's really great to get some of that paid work experience throughout your program. Okay, on to our, I think, final question, Chioma. Okay, so this is one final piece of advice that you would give to incoming students. So, Julia and Videra, these students who are joining us today from across Canada and around the world, they're coming to the University of Calgary next year, and this is your chance to give them one piece of advice about how to make their first year a great one. So, Julia, do you want to start us out?
Yes. I guess two words, get informed. Yeah, go to the office hours. Um, just a little like story. I with SOCI 201, I went to one of the office hours of my prof and just 10-15 minutes getting to learn about the degree, getting to learn about the faculty, getting to learn about the major and all that good stuff. And 5 years later, we're still in contact, this prof and I, and she asked me if I could uh, share my advice or share my experience to incoming sociology students. So it's kind of like a full circle moment of being able to, once again, have that sense of community and belonging, like I said earlier. And yeah, especially as coming from probably from high school or probably from work where everything's laid out to you and everything's like spoon feed fed to you. Um, with university, like I'll be honest and I'll be frank, you would have to do your own heavy lifting on this in terms of the prof is not going to be there to spoon feed you all of the deadlines, all of the assignments, and all that kind of good stuff. There's that independence that you have to build with setting out your timeline, setting out your deadlines and all that kind of stuff. So getting informed or just being able to attend office hours and those kind of stuff will really equip you for, especially for your first year of university.
Great suggestions, Julia. Thanks. How about you, Videra?
For me, I'd say I know how stressful first year was for me. It was just a big transition from high school, especially during COVID. So I know it's probably first year is just like really stressful as it is. But I would just recommend trying to make the most of the time you're here. I know in my first couple years, I was like, maybe after I get settled, I'll do this or I'll do that. But if you're gonna stay like that, it's just hard to kind of take that first step because you're always like, I'm not quite ready for it. But you're never really gonna be 100% ready for like anything you do. So you might as well just take that step. You're gonna learn once you actually start doing it. So I know it's easier said than done, but just take that first step and just try out a lot of different things. University gives you a lot of flexibility that you don't really get after you graduate or like in a different environment. So just try out different things, try to meet different people, take classes that you enjoy, just make the most of the time you're here. Don't always stress about classes, which is also hard because I know when you're having a hard time in class, it's hard to do anything else. But, just have a broader view of your time at university and yeah, just try to do a lot of things so you have a lot of good experiences in the next couple years.
Great suggestions. So yeah, we've got some really good suggestions there about getting involved, about getting informed, about building community and building confidence. And I think those are great ways to summarize how to approach your first year at university. Next slide, please, Chioma. Okay, so I'm going to turn things over to our program advisor, Tay Bree, now for a couple of minutes, just to tell you a little bit about the Art Student Center, because this is going to be your key point of contact for questions that you've got after today. Tay Bree?
Hi, everyone. I'm Tabri. I'm one of the academic advisors, program advisors in the Faculty of Arts. Yeah, so you can contact us at the Arts Student Center. We're just close to the elevators in the Social Sciences building. Um, Pretty easy to contact to find us there. There's multiple ways that you can connect with us. You can stop by the front desk if you have kind of like a general question. If you're specifically looking to talk to an advisor, there's lots of different ways to do that. So you can schedule like a booked appointment certain times of the week. We do in-person advising as well as drop-in phone advising. Every day of the week, there's some way to contact us. Um, and then there's email as well. So why you would come to an academic advisor, help with choosing courses, kind of planning out your next few years in your degree. If you're thinking about changing your major to a different major within the Faculty of Arts, we can also assist you as well with what would the requirements be to change? What would the course requirements be? We can kind of navigate and help you through there's a tool called Academic Requirements that shows you your required courses, and we're here to assist you kind of navigating using that tool. Um, so really any question related to choosing classes, your degree, graduation, even if you're going on an exchange or if you want to take classes at another institution, yeah, we're here to help. So lots of different ways to contact us. These are our contact hours right now. In busy times of year, they do change a little bit. Sometimes we'll switch to just phone advising, but majority of the time, the hours and dates listed on this slide are accurate for connecting with us for advising.
I didn't realize I was muted there. There we go. I could have talked. It was like early days of COVID. Questions and contacts. So if there's anything, we're going to now open. We've got the chat open, and we're going to start answering some questions. I'll answer a few out loud, and then Tabri is going to answer a few in the chat as well. But if you don't get your question answered today, these are some great email addresses and web addresses to take note of. So if you want to reach out to the Art Student Center, that's the advisors like Tabri or Chioma as the engagement assistant, or even me as an associate dean. You can email artsads@ucalgary.ca. The co-op web address is there because that's a fantastic place to get information about the Arts Co-op program. And then we've also got the web addresses for the Students Union and the Faculty of Arts Students Association in case you want to check them out as well. So that's some important contact information for you. Now, Chioma, I think we have one more slide we need to get up here. So this is the QR code you've been waiting for. So for those of you who attended this virtual session today, you're going to be considered for some prizes. You're going to be offered the opportunity for early course registration, which is probably the biggest prize of all at a big university like ours. So make sure that you scan this QR code and fill out the form to confirm that you've been at this virtual event at UCalgary. There's some information there about early course enrollment start times once your attendance has been confirmed and that you've accepted your offer of admission and you've paid your non-refundable deposit by midnight on April 11th, which was actually early this morning. So your updated enrollment start time will appear in your My UCalgary Student Center by April 30th, once we've confirmed those details. And you need to fill out that form because that's the way that you become eligible for early course registration. So we can leave this slide up for a bit because I think our next slide just reminds us that it's time for Q&A, doesn't it, Chioma?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, well,
Okay.
we've okay, so this is so as I mentioned, the chat is open. So you can ask one of our students if you've got a question, you can ask an advisor, you can ask me as a professor, and we're happy to try and answer those questions. We'll leave this slide up in the meantime, just so that you have easy access to that QR code if you need it. Okay, so I'm going to take a look in the chat and see if there are some questions that I think would
Yes.
be
Do you want me
important.
to read the questions?
No, I can
Okay.
do that. That's
Okay.
okay. There was a question right at the beginning about can you switch to a co-op degree after you apply for a normal degree? And the answer is absolutely. You actually can't apply for a co-op degree right straight out of high school. So what you would do is co-op. First year is a great time to inquire about co-op. It's a great opportunity to be able to learn a little bit more about it and start planning. But you actually apply for co-op in the fall of your second year of study. So our co-op deadline is typically around the 15th of October, but it'll be advertised for you each year and you'll have no trouble finding that information. And then you can apply for co-op in October of your second year. And then your first work term would likely be either in the summer after your second year or in the fall of your third year. So it's absolutely no problem if you haven't declared your interest in co-op yet. Gonna look at some other questions. There's a question here about awards, and we are not the best folks to answer those. Tabery, do you know, is there an email address or web address specifically for awards, or is it best to just contact the Future Students website?
Yeah, I would probably just go through future students. Most of the awards are organized through enrollment services. But yeah, I would just go through the future students page initially.
That makes sense. Yeah, and the Faculty of Arts, there may be things that are identified as Faculty of Arts awards, but most often they're still organized centrally through the awards office at the university. So that's the best place for your questions about prestige awards. Oh, this is an interesting one. What is the dual degree requirements? How would you apply for it? Tabery, that sounds like a you question.
Yeah, so it kind of depends what you're referring to when you say dual degree. There's a couple different options. You can do what's called a double major. So you complete one degree, it's just a regular 4-year degree, and you happen to have two majors within that degree. You just graduate with one degree at the end. There's also something called a combined degree where you do actually complete two degrees at the end of 5 years. You get two degrees, like when you cross the stage at convocation rather than just one. Again, you're completing the requirements for two majors, but you're completing an extra 10 classes, which kind of grants you that two degrees instead of one.
Yeah, it's always impressive at convocation when you see people across the stage with their arms full of degrees. It's exciting, and you can do that instead of it taking 8 years, which you might think if you're doing two full degrees. It usually takes about 6, and that's pretty amazing. So yeah, that's a good one to think about. Um, what other questions do we have here? Questions about things like I see people are asking some questions about like minimum average requirements for the rest of grade 12. So that's information again that's best directed to the Future Students website because they have the most things like admission averages change from year to year, and they're also sometimes different from program to program. So some of our programs like psychology have a competitive entrance requirement. So we have way more students interested than we have spaces. So the GPA requirement or high school average requirement might be higher. Most of our programs are a little bit lower than that one. So it's best to check with the future students on that one in particular. Um, what else do we have here? Start the course. Okay, what if we are transferring from one institution to another? Are we still qualified for co-op in the summer of second year? Well, that's an interesting question. Tabery, do you know the answer to that one?
Not specifically, like the deadlines related to co-op, like you would still need to meet the admission requirements for the co-op program.
Yeah.
They have certain requirements listed on their website as far as you can't have too many classes completed before like applying for the co-op. So if you meet those requirements, then you would be able to apply. It just depends how many courses you're bringing in as transfer credit, I suppose.
Right. Yeah, those are good questions. And typically your transfer credit sort of counts towards what year you're considered to be in program. So I think it's if you were to transfer into University of Calgary after your first year somewhere else, you'd actually be considered a second year student. So by the time you start, so I suspect that means that you would be applying in your first semester at U of C, but when you have second year student status because of the credit you've received for transferring in from another institution. So but again, if you have any further questions about that, you can always reach out to the Arts Co-op team, whose contact information we shared before. So I'm looking at a few other questions. So there's several questions about how people check and see if their non-refundable deposit went through, or if it hasn't shown up in your My UCalgary yet. So those would be questions best directed to the future students address as well. Those folks will be able to share that information with you. If you have a second, Tabry, would you maybe find the email address for, I think it's future.students, but I just want to make sure we've got it right, to be able to pop that into the chat for those kinds of questions. I see someone ask if they accept their admission, can they defer? Again, a question for the future students address. High school, oh, that's a good question. High school AP courses. Tabor, I know I just sent you on another task, but this is students are wondering if they have high school AP courses, will they show in the student center, and can they be used to supplement a first year course?
Yes, so if you send in your AP transcript to the admissions office and you've achieved the required grade in order to get the credit, admissions will post the credit for you. If you haven't specifically sent in the transcript, then it would not be posted. If it is posted, it would generally kind of cover the requirements for a first year class, of course, depending how many AP classes you're getting come in. Like you might get like a specific credit for psychology, or you might just get like a general first year credit. If you see those credits posted and you're kind of unsure how they would apply to your program, that's when you can reach out to Art Student Center with the advisors, and we can clarify that for you.
Great. Um, there's a good question about what would a course schedule look like for a first year student. And that's it's a little bit different for everybody. And part of it depends on how many courses you're taking. We typically consider 5 courses a semester to be a full load. So that's the most that we would recommend that students are taking at one time. But we have lots of students who are taking 3 or 4 classes a semester. It all depends on sort of what is a comfortable workload for you, whether you're going to have a part-time job as well, other obligations that you might have that impact your schooling. So it looks a little bit different for everyone, but I would say the most common courses that you would take in the Faculty of Arts in your first year will typically have 3 what we call contact hours per week. So 3 hours that you would be in class. So that might be a 50-minute class 3 times a week. It might be a 75-minute class twice a week. In first year, you don't typically have any 3-hour classes once a week, but as you go further on in your degree, those become more common. If you're taking science courses or sometimes language courses that have labs associated with them, sometimes they have extra hours associated with them. Some students are able to organize their schedule so they've got all their classes on 3 or 4 days of the week instead of all 5 days. But I would say in your first year especially, it's pretty common that you're going to be in class and on campus most of the Monday through Friday. Okay, I'm going to take one more question out loud. Oh, this is a good one about co-op. Are co-op placements only in Calgary, or could they be in another city or province? I would say they are most commonly in Calgary, but absolutely not only in Calgary. We've got students who have worked in their hometown on in another place in Alberta or another place across Canada during the summer and the fall or the winter for a work term. We've had students who are working for the federal government in Ottawa. We've had students working at embassies and different government organizations in different countries around the world. We've had students with placements in Switzerland and in Denmark and in different parts of Asia. Like it really it depends entirely on your interests and the opportunities that we seek out. Typically, the jobs that are posted on the co-op job board are most of them are going to be in Calgary, but lots of times students find other opportunities, and we are happy to help work with students to create a work term in those spaces. So definitely good to keep in mind. Okay, I'm seeing that we've hit 10 o'clock, and I know that means that a number of folks are going to have to drop off the call now. So I just want to, we're going to stick around for probably another 5 or 7 minutes and answer a few more questions in the chat. But I wanted to take the moment to thank you all for joining us today. This has been a really enjoyable way for me to spend an hour on a Saturday morning, and getting to hear from some of you and allowing you to hear from some of our great team members at the University of Calgary. So we're really thrilled that you joined us. We know you have some very difficult decisions ahead of you in the next little while as you're thinking about what university you're going to go to or what program you might be in. So do not hesitate to reach out to us. You can always get us at that Arts Advisors address, and or by email, and we will make sure that you get answers to the questions that you need to help you make that decision. So we'll close the official session now. We'll stick around and answer a few more questions in the chat, but otherwise wishing you a great Saturday ahead, and hope to see you in September. Take care, everyone.